All right, hey there, Kyle Souza here, doing a quick little video about Attack of the Clones, Star Wars Episode 2. Again, these videos, part of the little series, are not reviews, are not recaps, are not critiques. They are just videos to highlight a few specific plot points in each film that tie the entire official storyline, the entire canon, and Star Wars fact together. Canon being the 6-year-old films, soon to be more, as well as the anthology films, but none of the other prior extra movies outside of 1 through 6. And then the Star Wars Rebels TV show that's on now, and the older Star Wars Clone Wars animated series, and then the current comic books by Marvel, and a couple books that are out, or several books that are out actually, and then also some prior media, like the Son of Dothraki comic book series from Dark Horse, but only specific other prior media. The rest of the expanded universe has been relabeled Legends. Okay, so let's get into Attack of the Clones. It's set several years after the events of Episode 1, which was heavily criticized, very negative on some people's parts. Some of that was taken to heart. We did see more of the things that we are used to in Star Wars in this film than we did in Episode 1, and a lot of analogies from this film to the original trilogy, especially as it relates to Star Wars Episode 4, the first one released, not just 5, which was the middle part of the original trilogy, Episode 2 being the middle part of the prequel trilogy. Right off the bat, we see that Padme Amidala is no longer the Queen of Naboo. She is a senator. Interesting thing about Naboo politics, we see that the Queen is elected. She was elected at 14. She served 2 terms. And then the senators are appointed by the Queen. So that's kind of a flip of how we usually think about things, where senators and representatives are elected, and then the royalty is either born into it or appointed some other manner. So this little flip, just an interesting note. All right, she is still using a body double. That is apparent in an unfortunate manner right off the bat for that person being her body double. We see that as it relates to things that were covered in the first, or the video about Episode 1, is that Sheev Palpatine is still in control. He is the Supreme Chancellor, and he is able to continue shielding others from sensing his dark side powers, from seeing that he is a Sith. Aside from the clouding of the Jedi minds by the Sith monument that the temple is built on, he has a unique ability, or at least near unique ability, to prevent others from sensing his Force attunement. We see early on also that the Jedi are trying to emphasize who they are and what they are as the Jedi Order, that they are not warriors. Obi-Wan says to Anakin, this weapon is your life, meaning that being a Jedi needs to be the most important thing to you, but the Jedi are not warriors, are not soldiers, they are peacekeepers. Do a lot of fighting for peacekeepers, but then again, sometimes that's necessary. And in this state of civil war, it definitely became necessary. They are discussing the possibilities of having a grand army of the Republic. Okay, this is a two-sided coin for the Jedi. They need the support if they're going to go into all-out battle. The Jedi can't do everything by themselves, but at the same time, it wouldn't be a Jedi army, it'd be a Republic army, which also moves the Jedi on these missions more underneath the Republic's control. That comes into play in the Clone Wars TV show. We see where Tarkin, before reaching the status of Moff in the Empire, does have some runs and does have some issues, especially in seasons 5 and 6. All right. We also get introduced to Jango Fett and Zam. Very interesting dynamic there. There could be a lot more backstories. We haven't had that history filled in between them, but they do both play a prominent role here. Jango Fett more so, as he is the father of Boba Fett. More on that in just a minute. We also get to see Anakin more grown up. A lot of parallels between Anakin in Star Wars Episode 2 and Luke in Episode 4. Anakin's now a young man. He is battling a lot of desires, thoughts internally, and He's also emotional. He is a bit whiny, things like this. He has gone from a place where he was not a Jedi, but his force abilities, his latent force abilities, gave him an edge, like when it came to pod racing, weapon mechanics, things along those lines. But now he's just one of the Jedi, and while he is the chosen one, it is not just automatically him being in charge or him being good at it. He still has to learn things. So we do get some whininess there, and we also have the love story developing between him and Padme. He is lucky she reciprocates, otherwise he comes off as a real creeper with all the things he's saying. So there's that story in there also being a love story. Again, Star Wars, cool space battles and everything, but a lot of stuff about government and a lot of relationship issues being discussed in the films. We do get to see a bunch of cool special effects here. Great movie in that case, or in that angle. Anyways, all right. The chase. So talking about special effects, the chase between Zan and the Jedi, where Anakin and Obi-Wan are going through Coruscant. We see a lot of similarities between that and the asteroid belt or the asteroid field actually, in Episode 5. We see even more similarities between the asteroid belt around Geonosis and the asteroid field in Empire Strikes Back. But this does have some of those same elements, which any good chase dodging scene is going to have. But one thing that really becomes prominent during this chase is that Anakin likes thrills. Anakin likes living on the edge. Anakin likes taking these risks. He's one for drama, for theatrics in a sense, and he is trying to get that high, as it were, from doing exciting, exhilarating, thrilling things. So we also get a little bit of foreshadowing to, again, Episode 4, where Obi-Wan tells Anakin, I've got a feeling you're going to be a death to me. Anakin really looks to Obi-Wan as a father figure since he didn't have one, and Qui-Gon was killed so quickly after their introduction. Obi-Wan takes on that role as his mentor, and he sees that Obi-Wan does care about him, but he also does have some points of contention with him, like anybody does with their real fathers. They go into this club, and it kind of fills the spot of the cantina scene in Episode 4. You've got a lot of characters, a lot of dubious characters, lots of stuff going on. There's a bar, plenty of stuff at the bar. One thing that we get to see that's pretty cool is that at this bar, Obi-Wan also slices someone's arm off. He slices Zan's arm off. So that is a favorite move of his, and also another reference to Star Wars Episode 4. Also, in Attack of the Clones, we see Anakin growing towards Palpatine. That Palpatine is grooming him. That Palpatine is feeding his ego. When Chancellor Palpatine talks to Anakin, there's almost always compliments or always a backhanded negative remark towards the Jedi Order, planting a lot of seeds, really trying to garner his dark side, garner the feelings of mistrust and betrayal, and basically trying to give Anakin the mindset that he's better than what the Jedi want him to be. Which is not necessarily true, but again, the dark side is filled with half-lies, half-truths, deceptions. Yoda talks about that later in this film. And again, people could look at the light side and say, well, Obi-Wan not telling Luke about his father, things like that. You could say just the same there. So, interesting. The prophecy comes up again. Check out the video made specifically about that and Anakin being the chosen one for some more details there. Jar Jar Binks from Episode 1 is brought in. He is a stand-in representative for Padme when she goes back to Naboo for safety purposes, and he gets used as a pawn by Sheev to become the ruler, in a sense, of the Senate, in that they vest him with the power to make decisions singularly without Senate approval in the hopes of getting this war done, moved over quickly. We really learn why Padme's under attack. She's the leader of the resistance of that idea. She doesn't want a grand army of the Republic. She wants to try and solve all this diplomatically. That's not an option for Palpatine. It doesn't fit into his plan. He's using the war to hedge, as it were, to have the two sides against each other so that he can come out victorious no matter which side wins, because he's in charge of both sides. And so he needs her out of the way. At the same time, he's also giving Anakin a point of affection, some some focus of his attention and love and lust and things of that nature. We also get introduced to the planet of Kamino. And the people of Kamino are cloners. They clone other people. The point of this, for this movie, is to create a grand army for the Republic. They're cloning Jango Fett. They're using him as their blueprint genetically. They say that Sifo Dyas is the one who contracted them, but he's a Jedi Master who died. And it appears that Darth Tyrannus, aka Count Dooku, posed as Sifo Dyas and hired them, or at least that's the story that they were supposed to do. We see in the Clone Wars how the cloners are in on it, as it were. They know that it's not really the Republic in charge. They have these other masters. Jango's the one who informs Obi-Wan that, no, Tyrannus is the guy who hired me, basically. So the Sith have been orchestrating this for a while and at a very high level and managing it very hands-on. So a little confusing there. If it's your first time watching, you're not fully paying attention. Sifo Dyas has died. Someone impersonating him potentially has contracted this army. Now, there is some contention on that because we do see in the expanded universe where Sifo Dyas said, hey, we're going to need this army. And that may be why he was impersonated, but Obi-Wan in Episode 2 says that the order was placed after Master Sifo Dyas had passed away. We do see that Kamino is 12 parsecs beyond the Outer Rim. Now, parsecs get mentioned a couple times in this film, and they're mentioned also in Episode 4, but as a measurement of time, not distance. And we always think of parsecs as distance. So why would Han say that he could make the Kessel Run very quickly and use parsecs as a measure of time? It's not like, oh, how far away is something? It's 5 miles or it's 5 minutes, or so it's not that kind of situation. I really think that Han was just trying to pass something off as some technical jibber jabber to impress the fuddy-duddy old man that Obi-Wan was at that time, or at least that he perceived him to be at that time. You know, just like you ask an IT guy, oh, what was wrong with the server? And he can throw out some jargon and may or may not actually be accurate. At that point, you don't know. Or same thing with mechanics. If you're not familiar with cars, anything you're not familiar with, Obi-Wan does not like flying. We see that here, though he was familiar with it and probably would have seen through Han's ruse there. But that's the explanation that I like for that situation with Solo in the cantina. All right, back to Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, though. On the ship, Padme, Anakin, they're going to Naboo as refugees. The ship doesn't want to serve droids. You know, droids don't need to eat, but R2 was helping out his companions there, the Jedi and the Senator, and so we get that no droids reference again, just like in A New Hope. We do also get to see the younglings. The Jedi will pick up children as younglings, start training them. After they pass some trials, they become a Padawan, which means that they have a specific master who's not necessarily a Jedi master, but their master, who would be a Jedi Knight that's training them. A Jedi Knight will have more than one Padawan over time, but just one at a time. Though the Padawans continue to learn from many Jedi, they have one specific one that they're reporting to, that they're shadowing, that they're working with. Then they become a Knight, and then they become Master, and then eventually Grandmaster, possibly. Not everyone achieves Grandmaster status, and at times only one person can be Grandmaster at a time. We also see these training remotes. Now, why did Han have a training remote? That's one thing that gets asked about Episode 4. So, for me, what I see is the training remote isn't just a Jedi thing. It is a security device. It can shoot these lasers, shoot warning shots, It's not necessarily a big bad security droid, but it can be used in some situations when you just need a little bit of security there. But it does make for good training with the young ones, like it did with Luke. Helmets, blaster shields, lightsaber, deflecting some very weak bolts there. So just a note on that, because people will bring up, why did Han have a Jedi tool? He didn't have a Jedi tool. He had a piece of equipment that was pretty standard, and the Jedi had the same piece of equipment, just like comlinks weren't just with one person. Data cylinders, not just within one party. There's a lot of technology that can be used by normal people and by Jedi and by the Separatists as well. We do see that there is corruption, espionage, disorder within the Jedi Order. Someone has erased Camino from the records, so there is already a current of discord inside the Jedi Order. Someone working from the inside has erased this data. That will feed into other Jedi falling away from the Order. Master Krell and others in the Clone Wars we get to see around the same, that happens right after this show right after this film. In between episodes 2 and 3, we have the Clone Wars TV show, 6 seasons there, one animated movie as well. So right after this movie, we're beginning to see Jedi kind of fall away. They feel betrayed by the Order. Or they're just selfish. That's always an option also. Excuse me. Anakin hates sand, Anakin hates slavery, Anakin hates Tatooine, and apparently loves really cheesy pickup lines. But smarter man than me, his worked. I'm not good with pickup lines either, but I guess I shouldn't say smarter man. My wife may not be happy about that phrase, but just saying, his lines worked, even though I think they're cheesy. All right. So like I said, the clones are clones of Jango Fett. Jango Fett also has his own personal clone, a clone that is not programmed, advanced biologically, or altered in any way. That is Boba Fett, who he refers to as his son, even though it's an exact genetic copy. So that's where Boba Fett comes from. We've seen him, since the special editions, he's in all 3 of the original trilogy films. Again, introduced in the Star Wars special. Originally, the first time we saw him on the big screen was for Empire Strikes Back, but now he's in all 3 of the OT, and that's where Boba comes from. Boba, we see him as a child. He doesn't do too much, but we do see that he is being trained by his father to be his replacement, as it were, which he ends up fulfilling. And we see a lot of parallels between the 2 of them. Similar armor being the Mandalorian armor, Slave One, his weaponry. Both are very skilled bounty hunters, operating at different times, one being the clone of the other. But the clone troopers are not stormtroopers. Clone troopers are clones of Jango Fett. Stormtroopers are conscripts or academy graduates who become stormtroopers later. That's at a much later date than what's going on here. So these clone troopers are peak specimens, if you will. Jango Fett, a very feared bounty hunter, and also a very well-known one as far as bounty hunting was concerned. At the same time, he was good at his job, and these clones did also inherit some of his weaknesses. We'll get more of that later. All right. Darth Tyrannus. So who is Darth Tyrannus? We see later that he is Count Dooku. Count Dooku is a prior Jedi, the one who trained Qui-Gon, in fact. So we've got this lineage here where Dooku trains Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon has some issues with the Jedi Council. Count Dooku has now fallen away to the Sith. Obi-Wan, who's willing in some cases to rebel against the Council, has taken on Anakin, who eventually does turn to the dark side as well. So we get this lineage of disrespect, or lineage of contention with the Jedi Council of varying degrees. Again, the Jedi are blinded to many events, like the creation of this clone army, because they are not operating at the level where they believe that they are. They're realizing that in this film, that their vision really has been limited and that they are suffering as an order for it. Anakin is on Naboo. He's having dreams about his mother. He loves his mother very much. A lot of his fear comes from losing his mother. He's having nightmares. Yoda even talks about that in episode 1. But what we see here is that his nightmares were force-fueled dreams, and that he's seeing her being attacked, tortured, and that's really happening. So he decides to go to Tatooine. He's going to take care of her. He sees that she's been freed and married Lars. That's where we meet Owen and Beru. We see that that's how Luke is with his aunt and uncle. They are the Lars really is just, Owen Lars is just the step brother of Anakin. So it's with his step aunt and uncle in episode 4. But on this farm, on the Lars homestead, we see a lot of parallels. Imagery, positioning, music even. Get to hear some parallels to Luke being in that same homestead in episode 4. We also get to see C-3PO again. He's in all the films, just like R2. C-3PO being more filled out, his mother got to take him with them. Again, C-3PO's mind gets erased, or memory gets erased at the end of episode 3, so he doesn't recognize or think about Anakin, put two together there. And also Darth Vader doesn't see C-3PO. That's why Anakin can recognize him, because he's seeing him. All right, the asteroid field scene. A lot of cool stuff here, a lot of parallels, of course, to the asteroid field in Empire Strikes Back. So lots of cool things there. Less potatoes were used during this filming. It is CG, and we do get a hole that they fly through. We get to see a lot of really cool things during this battle, or escape, depending on how you want to classify that. C-3PO, oh yes, C-3PO also does recognize Anakin, refers to him as the Maker. Thank the Maker is a phrase that he says in episode 4. That's not an uncommon phrase for droids. It's not like a god idea. It's just his origin point. So it's just something that droids can say. Again, C-3PO having more character than some other droids, a larger personality, as it were. Anakin is too late to save his mother. She dies in his arms. He goes berserk. This is one point where some people were upset that the movie didn't go PG-13. This is, episode 2 is the last movie to be filmed that is PG. 4, 5, 6, 1, 2 PG. Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, was PG-13. The Force Awakens will be PG-13. Some people didn't like that it didn't go far enough, and you get to see him, slaughter the Tuskens. But then again, that's also pretty hardcore, and these movies were designed for young minds, children. So, but he does, we do see that he is going to do that. We see him kill a couple, and later he's telling Padme that he killed them all. Men, women, and children. Just boom. They're gone. And it's his first, giant act out of anger and hate, and when he's really turning to the dark side. But he's not turned. He's just really battling those demons, as it were. Yoda feels it. Very concerned look on his face at that point as well. So then we get to see them go to rescue Obi-Wan, them being Padme, R2-D2, C-3PO, and Anakin. During that little scene, we also see another reference to A New Hope with the little walkway. Not Padme and Anakin. Oh wait, they do. Padme and Anakin run out through a door. They get to the end of a walkway, just like Luke and Leia did on the Death Star. The droids reach that same walkway. R2 pushes C-3PO over, and then he flies off. All right. So in the Geonosian arena, the Jedi are tied up, or Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Padme are tied up. They got their hands above them. We see some similarities there to positions that Luke has been in, with his hands tied above his head. Just a little interesting correlation there. We see Anakin use the Force to control a beast. Animals can be very instinct-driven, which can be a very strong feeling, but they are not of a higher mind, as it were. And some of the EU books, we see even more of those types of things happening, especially I can remember some with Obi-Wan controlling beasts, and some of the junior novels or young readers novels that I read. But for this, with the official storyline, this is the first time that we see that happen, where a Jedi is using a mind trick, as it were, not on a human, but on an animal, not on some alien or sentient being, but on a animal. So that's just cool to see. Padme, like her daughter Leia, is a woman of action. She's grabbing a blaster. She's taking care of herself, as it were. She's escaping. She's shooting things. She's in the action, just like we see Leia grab the blaster, shoot a hole, go down the Death Star, shoot. Leia is not afraid of action. Her mother, even more so, not afraid to take action. So that personality has carried through. And whatever Skywalker we see in The Force Awakens, maybe Rey, I think we will see that same woman of action personality. Jango Fett does get killed by Mace Windu. Boba does see it. Boba develops a hatred for the Jedi, and that is evidenced in the Clone Wars and several episodes there, as Boba Fett is growing into the role that we see him in the original trilogy. One of his main drivers is hatred and anger towards the Jedi over the death of his father. We also get to see a little glimpse of Death Star plans. We see that they're working on it, or working on the plans for the Death Star at this point in time. So that was a long-term project or long-term goal, as it were. But just a little brief reference is what we get there. Yoda also can sense things. He is on Genosha, and he is sensing maybe the argument between Anakin and Obi-Wan there, or is he sensing Dooku? We're not sure exactly which one he's sensing. I believe it's Anakin and Obi-Wan, because I think he's sensing Anakin's turn to the dark side. I think it's really concerning his soul, as it were. It's really affecting him through the Force. He is seeing that the Chosen One is going down a path of darkness, killing Tusken Raiders, and now with him wanting to go after Padme instead of helping Obi-Wan take out Dooku. He is, just going down that path with attachments, something that the Jedi Order doesn't allow. And one of the concerns that Yoda had when taking Anakin on as a Padawan in the Jedi Order, he thought he was too old, that he would have too many attachments and be too emotional about it. Anakin loses his arm, just like Luke had. We get that parallel there. This is also Anakin's star of change, not just to the dark side, but to be more machine than man, as Obi-Wan puts it in the original trilogy. So he's starting that transition also when he has to get a mechanical or robotic arm. During the fight with Dooku, we see him taking objects off the wall and throwing them using the Force. That's also used during the duel between Luke and Vader in Episode 5. So that's a popular move, not just by Force users, but by dark side users in particular, that throwing things off the wall. Very cool imagery there. Palpatine, again, is just re-emphasizing at the end, has orchestrated this war as Darth Sidious. He is in control of both sides. He needs this war to happen so he can bring everyone together under his control, and that's what he's really after, his power here. We also then see a foreshadowing of how grand the Imperial's armies will be when we get to hear the Imperial March, looking out over all the clones and what is the precursor to the Star Destroyer with the Republic cruisers. Hope you liked the video. Check out thetalkinggeek.com. Thank you.